Great.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Village Square. It's our community Zoom meeting with Britt Johnson and Marlon Solomon, the reopening part 2. Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. Hey, it's 2020.
Wow.
It's 2020.
That's my one. I didn't realize.
2020.
All right, let me turn that down. All right, Britt, take us away.
End of endings, and it's the beginning of beginnings.
Amen.
And that's been happening consistently with 2020. It's a new life that everyone's learning to live. And we want to thank everyone for tuning in to Village Square, the reopening part 2. We hope everyone is healthy and safe, socially distancing, staying at home, learning how to deal with family in a new way, and finding their balance. I'm Britt Johnson with Boss Lady News, and
I'm Marlon Solomon with Afrimerican 1, and we have today
Devan Johnson with Divine Revelation.
All right, we're passing it off. We're passing it off like a baton, right?
I like that. I really like how y'all do that.
I like that too. She didn't tell me she was going to do that, so it's not even fun. Well, great. Well, yeah, today's meeting is the reopening part 2. The idea behind today's really, we actually reopened on Monday, at least to an extent. We have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to go a lot into what's going on with the reopening. We're going to talk to our special guest, Devan, and hear what she's got to say about what she's up to in this COVID-19 new normal, man. And that's all, before we get started, I want to let everybody know, please ask questions in the chat. We'll read them at the Q&A section. Thank you and welcome to the show.
as we normally do or have been, we are discussing a few of our new norms. So what is a new norm that's going on in your world, in our world? And one new norm that I actually wanted to bring up.
Your volume went down. I don't know. Your volume, okay, try it now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. That celebrities are starting to get more involved.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you guys were frozen or not. Sorry, my internet connection.
Just don't worry, we're good.
And so there's a story out here now with Magic Johnson, and
Okay.
he decided that he was actually going to put $1 million to loans to minority-owned businesses left out of the PPP loan.
Nice.
So more and more frequently, we are seeing celebrities start to reach out to different nonprofits, starting to reach out to the communities and seeing how can they help, how can they be of support. And I think it's great because normally we're not used to actually seeing celebrities kind of jump in when they're actively also affected by this, versus maybe participating in like a fundraiser after a situation has happened. And so I think it's noble. And let's not also forget that when COVID-19 hit and everybody had to stay home and figure out ways to make money, there were many celebrities out there on social media that had different competitions that people could be a part of, and they would cash app money directly to those participants.
Wow.
So there's a variety of different ways that celebrities and extremely high income, compared to at least myself and many of the middle class or low income, higher income celebrities that are getting involved and are starting to donate and be a part of helping to rebuild the businesses that are directly affected, especially in the low income communities. So, you know, proud to them.
Well, lovely. Let's see. That's an awesome one. I'm glad you started out with Michael Jordan. Magic Johnson, because I'm moving to Michael Jordan. I'm going to Michael Jordan. My new normal, of course, is that, there was this 10 part docuseries about Michael Jordan and called The Last Dance. I waited to the end and then binged it. So I'm just like so excited right now. The new normal is real, I guess in this case, was that we didn't have no other sports to watch. So everybody just went all in on the Michael Jordan series, you know, and everybody's really getting to know that. And I'm really excited about that. Ironic story, you know, Michael Jordan actually came back when he was going back to Washington Bullets at the end, he actually announced on September 10th. And then September 11th, it was when we all found out that, well, we all know what happened on September 11th, 2001. So that's part of that. But what I got from the series and what I wanted to bring out about the new normal was kind of one thing I've always railed against is that as an African-American male that grew up in Africa, I guess with a free mind, I have been trained that I can be aggressive. I've been trained to be aggressive, and aggressive doesn't mean that you're in any danger and I'm going to start shooting up the place. Danger means that I'm going to just get you business-wise, or I'm going to win. I'm going to have this competitive edge and take you out. So that is one of the things that I loved about watching Michael Jordan, because he was an aggressive. I believe that our African-American males are taught to be passive-aggressive, and he was an aggressive. And that's the kind of what we need in the new normal to basically start this community resilience. And we have to be wanting to win at every cost, take care of ourselves at every cost, doesn't matter. And we've got to be able to point out some of our weakest links. One of the things that people say about Michael is he's like a tyrant and he's mean and this and that. But I identify with him. When I go to war, I want to know everybody's ready to battle. I want to know I can count on you. I don't want people to be walking around pussyfooting, talking stuff to me and telling me stuff that, well, you see what had happened, you're talking to me kind of mean and da-da-da. Look, bruh, we're at war. If you don't know it, this second wave that's coming, guess who's gonna die? Us. It's not white people who are gonna die as much, it's gonna be us, right? I have some stats here later to back this up, but because we're gonna die, we need to be the one aggressive, not sit back passive aggressive going to somebody else to solve our problems. And if you don't believe we can solve our problem, that's the first problem that we got to change in the new normal.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Devan, come on, hit us up with one. I can't wait to hear your new normal. What's going on?
So since COVID-19, something that is becoming normal to me is talking about investments and talking about being creative as an entrepreneur. Being able to use that creative thing. For me personally, one thing that I really, really love about it is the fact that people usually see me and all the things that I do, right? And they're like, oh my God, what is the one thing that she does? And it's like, I don't know why I had to do all of these things, but now I know because of times like this. So I think that it's really great that in times like this, we can use our creative sides, the sides of us that God has given us to explore, that we don't have time to explore, because those skills and that creative gift is the thing that'll keep us going. It's that thing that'll help you build your business if you don't have a job. If you, lose your job and you can't get back to work, you will have some kind of skill. And so a new norm for me is making sure I'm up every day at a certain time and making sure I allot my day to those things that I'm trying or seeking to create, or helping other people who are trying to build a business and they just are all over the place and they need a little bit of guidance. So that has been a new norm, talking about that creative side and finding new ways to work, which is super exciting to me because, I didn't even know that I was this smart about certain electronic things. And I'm working on, building my website and, just trying to find new ways to keep my business going, to keep money coming in my pocket. And seeing what's going to happen when they reopen this world. I've been literally spending almost every day doing research. What's happening today? What's happening in the world? What's happening in the financial world? What's happening in the spiritual world? I need to know what's happening.
I hear you, sister. Please home.
And I digress.
No, you're good. You're good. Britt, what do you want to say? You want to piggyback on that?
I think that, you know, it's so important that everyone kind of has their own thing and their own kind of conversations. It's almost hard to piggyback sometimes off of other people for me right now, because there's so much going on. Just so much going on, whether it's with health. I see you're sharing your screen.
Oh, that's the problem.
Whether it's with health, you know, home, education, and family and friends. There's just so many different things. And one thing actually, Marlon, that you said that I actually do want to piggyback on is, if people don't realize that they are who's
You're muted. You're muted. I don't know what happened again. Maybe you press a button. Can you say something? I can't hear you. We can't hear you. Speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I was just saying that, you know, something I did want to quickly piggyback on that Marlon had said was that we have to understand that we are who's going to save us.
Yes.
And if we can't figure that out, then we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm listening to and hearing all of these different outreach programs, and I'm noticing that a lot of the outreach programs are really specifically looking for funding around the immigrant and Latino communities. Not as frequently am I hearing the Black community, the brown community, other immigrants that might not be Spanish speaking. So what I think is really important to recognize is that if we're going to bring attention and awareness to all people, then we have to be willing to bring attention and awareness to our own people.
Yes,
That's
yes,
heavy.
and
That's
to
heavy.
ourselves.
That's
To
heavy.
ourselves.
That's heavy. Can I pick you off that? Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. You know, I completely agree with you, because from my work in the community, I've been finding out with Afrimerican One, because I work with a lot of different groups, that you're right. There has been a lot more resiliency being exposed, and this is anecdotal. So I mean, yeah, I could only be around one group of people, and that's why I'm seeing this. But from what I've noticed, what it is that a lot of the immigrant populations and Latino populations, they actually have more average everyday involvement from everyday people in the resiliency effort. I'm going to groups and seeing this average everyday ordinary people that are taking extra time out of their very busy lives to organize with different groups, you know, get church groups, just normal ethnic groups. And I'm not seeing as much resilience in the African American community. That's something that I think that may tie into some of the cultural inhibitions that the African American is specific to African American communities, meaning that, while in Africa we already know how some of these systems work, or in Latin America you may already have some sort of leadership system already in place. While in United States, that leadership system has been under attack for 400 years, to put it lightly. So I think that may have something to do with it. But what I've been, I went to some meetings yesterday with the mayor's office, and the new normal is going to look very different. They're talking about churches being 40% at capacity. So you go to church, only 40% of the people can be there, or maybe 25% for a restaurant. Or can these businesses actually thrive in this new normal?
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. And that goes to what you were saying, Van, because you really do have to come up with different ways to be successful as a business person. But I think the only advantage is that everybody's starting from zero. really, because
Yes.
it's all new. Nobody knows about coronavirus. Not even McDonald's knows about coronavirus. We are all starting at the same place. So that should give us hope that if we innovate and be smart, we can maybe, make some headway. And I know Devant wanted to talk more about, the entrepreneur stuff.
Yes.
Yes, I absolutely did want to talk a little bit more about that because I think it's important. And it's also kind of giving people a push, I feel like, to kind of turn that creative wheel. But one thing that I've noticed, and I was so discouraged within the first 3 weeks, but one thing that I did note is that moving everything online would help me be able to reach more people. So that was a good thing for me, I feel like, because now not only am I reaching people that are in Massachusetts, I'm reaching people that are in Massachusetts and people that are in other states as well. So I kind of felt like, you know what, it was a win-win situation, right? I have been trying to prepare my business for situations like this. I remember coming on about 5 years ago. I used to get on almost every single day and try to teach people how to buy stock on E-Trade. And then over time, they started getting all of these different apps like Robinhood and Stash and all of these other different apps where you could buy stocks. And I remember people being like, oh my God, I don't got time to read that. Like, I don't even understand what's going on here. My biggest advice to any business owner is to buy stock in your business and just let it sit so that you can have some kind of asset for your company. And then after you've done that for your business, do it for yourself and vice versa, right? Do it for yourself and then do it for the business, or do it for your business and then do it for yourself, but do it for both, okay? Because then you'll have your foundation set and you'll have your business foundation set. I've also found that because my kids are home, I have to continuously find new ways to get my work done.
Right,
because it's super hard with my 4-year-old dangling from my neck while I'm sitting here at my little computer trying to write what I'm trying to write, trying to talk to my clients. So I've been trying to break my work down into hour increments, taking a half an hour break in between each thing that I do so that I can have time to run away from my kids.
I can't click loud or hard enough. I can't click loud or hard enough to agree with what you're saying.
So it's been a hard shift, but it's been a real shift. It's been a great shift, and I'm glad that it's happening right now because people like myself, people like Britt, people like you, we've been talking about that what if moment for years now, and people don't listen to that what if. And now we're in that what if moment, and I feel like this is a perfect moment for people to kind of revisit the conversations that we've had or that you've had with other people or whatever, because now is the time to be innovative and to work amongst each other. Group economics, super important. That is something that I've been trying to continuously build in my business. I'm not just working with people in the city that we're living in. I'm working with people all over the world. You know what I'm saying? Because again, who knows when they're going to try to shut the cities down? We need to be ready. We need to have people and allies almost everywhere, right? So that's another good side to having your business moved over to an online platform. We're preparing for a life that was already prepared for us ages ago. You know what I'm saying? So us stepping into where we stepping into now, a lot of us are extremely behind. We're extremely late, and we have a lot of catching up to do.
Right.
You know. So yeah, I wanted to definitely
an opportunity for people.
Oh, sorry.
Nope. Go ahead.
Now's an opportunity for people to really see what the trends are in business, to even start seeing if they can adapt to those trends. So the mask, right? Now you've got every kind of mask possible out there. They even have the masks that turn into scarves. You know, you've got the full hijab type mask. You have the sports mask. You have the children's Pokemon mask. So although people feel in an entrepreneurial world that they only can make money based off of their passion, they also need to see the opportunity that they can get into with an incline market that can help to have them help them get income for their passion.
No, I really don't have much to say. You guys are really, hitting all the right points. I do want to hark back to the community bit. That is so big, Devan, that you see one of the issues that I always try to make this comparison between my cultural life in Africa, growing up in Nigeria, and my cultural life here, and what are the things missing. The main thing is that no man is an island. We all need assistance and help and guidance from people who've been there and done that before. And that is where the community comes in, because even as I'm sitting here today, if I decided that I needed to do whatever I needed to do in Nigeria, even if I wanted to meet the president or the governor, trust me, it's just a few calls away. We call this person, and if it's warranted, I could meet that person. It's because I have a big community backing me. And in here, it's a little difficult because of the systems that we place, but it still means that we must act like a community. One of the things that I'm really pushing for is the census 2020. It is probably the best way in this democratic system to ensure that your community is being well served. Getting counted in the census helps out with, of course, federal programming, Head Start education, SNAP, Section 8. It helps out with our representation, so we're properly represented in the, in Congress, so that we, the laws we want get passed. It also helps out with redistricting, which helps us, also with our representation. And the issue that we have as Black and brown people is that we're always on edge when it comes to anything government. We don't want to be involved with government. We don't, of course, and for proper reason. Government has not really been too kind to our kind for 400 years. So we don't want to get experimented on. We don't want to know. We just want to stay clear. But the issue is that it's hurting us in the long run with developing our communities. Our hospital beds, our police departments, our schools all depend on the census. And so that's one thing I wanted to bring in. In the coming months, they're going to have, I think from July or something, they're going to be, anyway, later this summer, federal workers are going to start coming out to different houses to make sure they're getting counted. Immigrants, Black and brown people don't want to get counted, and that is hurting us. So we've got to get the word out and try to get people signed up on the census so that we can have the proper representation. There's another caveat I want to talk about, because in 2045, right, not too long ago, just 25 years from now, the Census Bureau, the very same Census Bureau, says that African Americans and Black and brown people will be the majority in America, right? This is science, just like the pandemic science about the second wave. This is science. It's not about when, it's not about if, it's when. And we need to push out there for our communities this census information. So please go to census.gov and sign up.
Yes, I really love what you were just talking about as far as, or maybe I was thinking this while you were talking, but group economics again. Group economics again was important. I think you were talking about us working together.
Yes,
it's an important part of that, especially as Black people. And I think it's something we should continue to talk about and revisit and gain perspective about and do research about, right? Because a lot of the times there are small businesses out here that's doing the exact same thing as somebody that's really close by. And a lot of the times I see that it's hard for us Black people to consolidate a business and make it a corporation and, kind of grow the assets of businesses. And I think that this is also an important time for people to start thinking about that. Hey, I see that you make cups. I make cups too. Can we get all of our cups, put them together and, reach more people, do more, manufacture more products. So that is another topic that I feel like is very, very important for us. I'm so sorry, Britt, that I cut you off because I see you about to say something.
So actually, I am reading a comment by Rhodes Pierre, who is one of our attendees right now, and he had just mentioned that
Hey, Rhodes.
Hey, Rhodes.
Black churches were the credit unions when white banks did not want to loan to us or hold our money. Yeah. And this, it brings us around to the conversation of, any of our places of worship that were for people of color were the locations for education. They were the locations for community building. They were the locations for, you know, what resources the community needs, where can we get these resources, and bringing these resources in to those places of worship so that the patrons can get that information. Since the churches have evolved into something completely different that no longer includes that in its services.
Okay, when you're done, I know why, I'll tell you why. Go ahead.
I was just saying, however, there is a passion for it, especially now. I want to say there's been a passion for this ever since the president took presidency, because the target for many Republicans and Democratic parties is the church.
Ooh, yes.
You know, there was actually something specifically done to remove the center of power from from churches. And basically it was around the time of the 60s. To some people on the right, was literally like a slave rebellion. Okay, you had Martin Luther King, you had, you know, Medgar Evers, you had you know, James Baldwin, Malcolm X. You had all these group of civil rights leaders that had now started gaining traction. So what happened was that they realized that the source of power in the African-American community was the church. Obviously, you have Malcolm X and you have Martin Luther King, the main leaders, and they're all faith-based organizations. So what they did was called the Johnson Amendment. It's an amendment that makes it so that 501c3s cannot actively promote political positions and change laws.
Right.
Once they did that, it was a silent way of making the church not have any power in society. Because now the church can't raise money to fund Martin Luther King to go out there and fight the good fight. Because if he's changing laws, they'll lose their 501c status and have to pay taxes.
Yes.
So literally, that amendment was like a silent slit on the throat of African Americans that was done specifically to slow down the strength of the Black church. And that's a fact. You can read it up. But let's go to I just want to make sure we go to the next thing, because I know we're moving, and I love Devan, and Devan has been adding so much great content that we're a little bit behind schedule, but I think it doesn't matter. We're gonna have fun nonetheless. So what I did, remember I was talking about the racial disparities, and I think that one of our number one goals in this forum, in the Village Square, is to really drive it home that we are under attack. It is not if, what, why, where, and some like fictitious thing. The COVID thing is literally killing us. Now, if you look on the thing, it says COVID deaths per 100,000 people of each group reported through May 11th. What's today? This is May 19th.
May 20th.
2020.
May 20th, sorry. So this is just like a week and a half ago. You can see the green line. I'm not gonna just go, I want to go into the detail, but you can see the green line. Over 40 something of the people per thousand is Black. Look at the other races. Asian is the top line. Black is the second line, the green line. Latino is there, and then white. Oops. And then I guess white is the blue, and then all deaths known by race is that. Look at that. It says it right there. Now I went into the article a little bit more. Look at this. Listen to this. 42.8 Blacks. Okay, for each 100,000 Americans, 42.8 Blacks have died, along with 18.4 Asians, 19.1 Latinos, and 16.6 whites since the data started being reported. Now, listen to this. To put this plainly, if all Americans had died of COVID-19 at the same rates that white Americans are dying, there would be 10,500 Black Americans still alive. Let that sink in.
Wow.
10,500 Black Americans have died more than if we were dying at the rate of white people. Then look at the other races. Latino, 1,400 more. It's still more, but I mean, that is like less than 10%. I mean, that's like what, 10, 14, 15% of what the Black Americans are dying at. Asian Americans, 300, would still be alive. So I guess, I mean, the point of this slide is just to really drive home the fact, it is us that is dying. We need to fight back. I don't know if anybody wants to add into that.
I definitely want to add in because I do the radio show, I have to do like the deepest research into something before I go out and talk about it. And one of the things that I did research on maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago was the way that people were dying and how it was being reported on their death certificates. So if somebody was dying of pneumonia and that was the cause of death, they would write on their death certificate that they died of COVID-19. So anything that had to do with upper respiratory issues that people were having and the current deaths that were going on in that wave, they were adding on to people's death certificate that they had died of COVID-19 so that they can help push that narrative of how many people are actually dying from COVID-19, which, is really messed up because I feel like they play with our numbers a lot and make us feel like, oh my God, we're going extinct. You know what I'm saying? And I really try to watch out for that. I really try to watch out for the playing with of the numbers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I agree with that cold-heartedly. Britt?
I would only say that I don't appreciate how Black people are always the face of a problem. We are always the face of a problem. If it is a political problem, it is catering to the Black people. If it is a economic problem, it is catering to the Black people. If it is a medical problem, it is catering to the Black people. So because we are the face of something devastating all the time,
yes,
it can feel sometimes as if we are becoming extinct.
Yes. And see, and what does that do to the brains of our people? What does that do to the brains of people? You know what I'm saying? We are already dealing with PTSD and depression and this and that. And then you hear some information like that and it just pushes you to give up all hope. And that's what I feel like they want. They want to leave us empty vessels of no hope because you perish faster.
Yeah.
Right.
In our teachings here at Afrimerican 1, we call that coping with indignities. That is what we always have to deal with. Every time we're the ones that are just taking it with no Vaseline. Where every time there's an issue, we're the ones that, oh, here you go, Black people. And it is just one indignity after the other that even during a pandemic, we have to deal with. Somebody can't jog down the effing street.
Yes.
And I'm sorry if I'm getting upset, but you know what? Like I said, I am upset and I'm very angry. You don't have to worry. I'm not going to start no big race war. I'm just going to simply say that it's such an indignity that is happening. And then you put salt on top of the wound. There are now people going to state houses with guns, swastikas, and Confederate flags, adding more indignity to the whole thing. And then I'm supposed to sit here and be, kumbaya and let's work together. No, cut that shit out and then we can talk. But don't come and disrespect me and put my people through more indignity. Like you said, I mean, what's the hope? I mean, I've already got to deal with so much. My health is that of somebody 20 years older than me if I'm white, meaning that a white person at 65 and the health of a Black person that's 45 is the same. So if all these things I have to deal with, low unemployment, community problems, single family homes, I mean, damn. Then you now want to throw in the fact that I can't jog down the street without getting shot up?
Yes.
I mean, come on. And these are the indignities that make it very difficult for Black people to be angry in a calm way, so to speak. Because guess what? I want to just knock you the hell out because it's just too much for me to take. But once you do that, what do? Look at these angry Black people. They've come again to try to mess up our whole environment, our country. This is our country, and nobody has suffered more and sacrificed more for America than the African American community. And it's time that we own it. So,
and not to forget that many brown-skinned people were here prior to, and actually there's a great YouTube video that I posted on Boss Lady News, where actually it's on Britt Johnson's Facebook page, where the doctor was explaining how prior to the Caucasians' voyages and Christopher Columbus through way of the Spaniards, prior to him coming here, there were already natives, dark skin, that had inhabited the location. Those were known as Indians or the native people to America. Yeah. Those people had sailed over here decades before, and when he came, they were already in a civilized manner. So when people think about the Americas and the building of this country, the people that came here, the Caucasian white people that came here, they were actually taught how to live here. So this is not their land. And that's one thing I always like to encourage people to recognize and to understand. This is not their country. They came here as foreigners as well. And one thing I wanted to kind of drive back home with you guys that you guys have been talking about, and, you know, because I know Marlon's all about the science, I don't want to make it seem as if, you know, us being the face of COVID-19 isn't important to us understanding. We need to protect ourselves and make ourselves a better type of people. Just because they're not wearing the mask doesn't mean we shouldn't be wearing our masks. Just because they might feel like they need to not continue to social distance, we used to social distance. It was called personal space. It was called personal space. It was called an arm reach, right? You had to be like right there. If you were within this personal space, I had the right to hit you.
Yeah.
So nothing changed until we changed and decided we had to conform to their way of life, right? We had to conform to being more comfortable with people being closer in our.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I hope she's still there. She's been having issues with her sound. Anyway, okay, so let's go quickly to the next part of the show, and this is really the you know, we're going to talk about the reopening part two. Okay, you're back. Okay, good.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
We can't walk around without a mask. Mm-hmm. We can't walk around and not potentially be arrested. Mm-hmm. And we can't do the normal things that people do. Huh?
Yeah.
I was just saying it for the people, martial law.
Oh, martial law. But we can't do the normal things. It's ridiculous when I see joggers, black joggers, wearing shirts saying I'm jogging. Don't shoot me. So COVID-19, I would say the only positive part of it, and us being the face of that, is once again bringing forth the racial disparities that are forced upon us.
Yep. And indignities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, with the, you know, I mean, I think that the reason I want to do this show and I want to like keep on experimenting and working on how we're going to do it, because we actually do need to build this resilience. And if people do not get angry to the point, and we're not saying angry and go out there and loot or commit a crime, we're saying angry and direct your anger into positive action. We are the ones that have to wear the mask. It's we don't have, if I see a black person not wearing a mask, I'm gonna slap the, never mind. Anyway, you know, but it's us that needs to wear the mask because it's our grandparents that are gonna die. Think about this. Those people that went to that state house with the swastikas and the Confederate flags, we're gonna assume that they're racist, right? Now, do you really think that they're gonna stop and they're risking our lives by not social distancing. Do you really think that the racists care what happens to us? I mean, really think about it. Those people are doing something that are indirect, I mean, it's a direct threat to my health, because
Yes.
they are promoting an attitude that is going to disproportionately affect my people. They don't care. They've never cared about my people, so I don't expect them to start now. So our job now is to call them out. We cannot sit there and somebody's actually sitting there with a knife in our back, stabbing, saying, I'm not going to social distance. I'm not going to take any precautions. I'm not going to wear any masks, because actually, it's actually the Black people that I don't like historically that are going to suffer. So, hey, it's actually me and COVID-19. The damn racists and the damn COVID-19 have the same thing in common. They want to kill, they're killing Black people. They don't care. So that's where I come at this thing. So sorry to get all worked up, but I want to talk about the approach to reopening Massachusetts real quick, so that we can educate our people, our communities of color. We can educate them on sort of what is expected.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're in the current stay-at-home stage, and we just opened into phase 1. Phase 1 means limited industries resume operations with severe restrictions. What's that's looking like? So basically, I think like the marijuana place is open. Not that I, understand it, So anyway,
It's okay.
apparently it's open, I heard. And there's like mad social distancing. So the line is like all the way down like 2 miles, because everybody's got to stand 6 feet apart. But that's kind of what we're expected to when we're opening. And then the phase 2, we're going to have, I guess, a little more businesses open. There will be sporting events without any, fans, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's a vigilant stage. Okay, that's the cautious stage. Then there's a vigilant stage in which I guess things are almost back to normal a little bit, but we're still very cautious. And then there's the phase 4, which they call the new normal, which I suppose is when we have the vaccine and everything is kind of back to, as close as it can be back to normal. They want to make sure everybody knows that there's a potential reverse of anything that happens. We start getting spikes, then that's what's going to happen. In Boston, we're not opening offices to June 1st, even though the rest of Massachusetts is opening. So that's kind of what they're talking about. I was at a mayor's meeting, so there's one major point I want to bring up because it has to do with our reopening, and I want so basically the state is having problem with their contact tracing, because when they call our communities of color, people ain't picking up the phone. Like, who is this?
Likely. We don't do those.
Collector. So that is the problem. The state has, on the caller ID, will say COVID-19. As far as Boston Public Health, when they call, the number will say 617-534, and then whatever comes out of that. So we want everybody to understand, and we're going to get into, I have a question later about contact tracing, which I'll go into a little bit of detail in. But basically, contact tracing is a process in which when somebody has COVID-19, we can find out and track who they've been in contact with and find out how they can get, how we can keep them isolated or quarantined. So yeah, that's basically it. This little flyer I saw on Channel 5, cover, wash, distance, vigilance. That's, I guess, the catchphrases that they're using so that everybody can understand. Cover, wash, distance, vigilance. Leave home only for healthcare, work, shopping, and recreation. Require face coverings when no social distancing, and no close contact activities. And of course, no visiting high-risk friends and family. But considering I'm Black, that means no visiting anybody. Because everybody I know is a high risk. So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so go ahead, guys. Any comments? I just get that out of the way.
This is huge, super huge, as we're looking at the reopening. And anytime that we're talking about any of this stuff, I always like to throw little things in there, right? Like how big of a social experiment this could have been or could possibly be. And the fact that they're opening up the world again, knowing that the numbers are going to spike. So I'm not sure if anybody had seen But I believe our president said something to the likes of enough people haven't gotten it yet, or the mayor here.
Don't talk about that, man. Don't talk about the president, please.
Yeah, sorry. Our mayor basically.
Don't get
our
me
mayor
started.
said.
Don't get me started.
Yes, our mayor said, "Hey, you know, enough of us haven't gotten it here yet, so let's open up our state." You know what I'm saying? So enough people haven't gotten it yet. They're trying to hit like a certain set of numbers, which I think is
70% for herd immunity. That's it.
Oh my goodness! Wow. And then going into what else were we talking about? The political power. That was something that I wanted to talk about with COVID-19.
Okay.
They're giving us this other free wave of money. And I just want to make sure that while we're talking about COVID-19, we continue to talk about money and what money is going to look like and what the dollar and the value of that dollar is going to look like due to COVID-19. Because although we're dealing with a real virus that is really going around and really harming people, we're also dealing with a real issue that we have to continue to look at what money's going to be, because inflation is an issue. I went to go buy me some steak tips for my family the other day. The steak tips was this small at the same price as the steak tips that I love that are this size, right? So just paying attention to that and paying attention to how our president is giving us this free money, and all of this is happening around the same time as our elections are happening as well. So just keep an eye on that. Make sure you're going to vote for the people who you think are going to run our country the correct way, the proper way. And again, back to politics. If we want to change anything that's happening and how the government is running things, we got to make sure that we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're supporting the Black businesses and the entrepreneurs in our community. We got to make sure that we're supporting the candidates that are running. So I just wanted to add that little tidbit in because it was on my mind.
Britt, that's a great, thank you so much. I want to talk about it, but I want Britt to have her say first.
I wanted to, I guess, briefly speak on, those that are most high risk. I think everyone is coming up with really creative ways of staying connected with our seniors, with people who are at high risk. There are also children who are at high risk. And I hope people are really looking at their health, because COVID-19, it's been known that people that are more high risk, people that have more underlying issues, it's going to be more difficult to fight this. The fact that people are still living the same kind of health lifestyle that they had been living prior to COVID-19, first, is why Black people are just amazing, because because we're just like, hey, we're gonna survive this anyways. But I think to honestly realize that we can be a healthier people, and we've been programmed to be not as healthy as we traditionally are. I'm always hearing how in Africa, these are some of the ways that some some food habits that happen over there. I've heard that typically we don't, being from a warmer climate, a lot of the animals that are here, they don't eat over there. So they're a little bit more green. And that's not every country in Africa. However, we do need to realize that it's not hard to become healthier people. And that does help to build up our immune systems. And I think it's an opportunity to create a generational habit of being healthier people.
Yeah.
That's what I definitely wanted to mention about that. And then in terms of, the new normals and how we're opening things up, first, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that there's this huge push for athletics, because it's mind-blowing that money has nothing to do with us. And people sitting on their asses and sitting on their butts and watching the sports games.
You can say ass.
Is the furthest from what we should really be concerned about. However, I do think it's important that as we're receiving this income and things are opening up, that we understand how to invest and budget. Where prices are going up, inflation is naturally going to happen. We've got to start thinking about things like, can I grow some food at home that I don't have to worry about buying anymore? We have to start thinking about how can I freeze some things. We have to start thinking about how can I teach my children not to go in the refrigerator and hold the door open because they're bored and looking for something to eat. So as this money is coming in, we also get an opportunity to really start looking at fixing our credit. We get an opportunity to start looking at what if now I can start a life insurance policy, as we have Rose Pierre on one more time. You might be able to pay, a few months of life insurance policy for whether it be your children or yourself. And what we don't realize is money and inflation will never change. Pandemic after pandemic, after crisis after crisis, it does not change. So we've got to prepare ourselves financially, mentally, and physically, because this is not changing, and our kids need to learn.
Yes, absolutely. Can't hear you, Britt.
Did I hope I didn't do anything to her. Britt, are you there? I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so quickly, I would love to, I think that what you said about the politics is very, very important. Now, first of all, remember, as a 501c3, we are apolitical because we're not trying to lose our tax exempt. But there's a caveat. The caveat is that any entity, whether it's an organization or a business, has the right to fight for its existence. So one could definitely argue that if my community goes down, right, then my organization will go down. And so my organization has to fight for the existence of its community. So just wanted to say that. In saying that, I am very happy to live in Boston and in Massachusetts. We have probably the best healthcare system in the country, the closest thing to public health in the country. We have the infrastructure in the country. So no matter what you want to say about, I am very careful to say, oh, white people are like this. I know that there's a tribe of white people that I need to watch out for.
Yeah.
Like I said, they tend to live in the South. They tend to be evangelical. They tend to not believe in science. So those are the people that I am worried about. But the white people here in Boston, I've always found to just be a product of their wealth. They're just rich, and they just don't know, they can't identify. Even rich black people can't identify with poor black people, much less rich white people identify with black people. So I wanted to say that.
I see some fingers going up.
Huh? I see you. Now, I added you so you could talk. So I'm very
happy. The faces, the reactions. You've lived here for a while, my brother.
Let's not get it twisted. The northern racist people are just not interested in putting it in front of your face. They're not going to walk around.
Yes, but that's what you're not.
They're sneaky about it.
But you're not an entity.
They know that money is key. However, they might not like you, but if the N can bring us some money and we can work with them.
But it's also institutionalized in here.
Exactly. But you have to understand that the white people here they're also a subject to the same institutionalization. You see, so the white people here are not used to dealing with aggressive black people because the institution has already made all the black people not aggressive. So is the person really mad at you because you're being aggressive, or you're just not used to seeing aggressive black people at all because they've been stamped out by the system?
I don't believe that, because all of those new Harvard students are well aware that Harvard was built by slaves.
So
and do they want to acknowledge that or bring awareness to that? No. Why? Because then Harvard would be considered a black school, an HBCU.
Okay. I just don't think they care. They just don't care. It's not really that they hate you. They just don't care. They're so busy living their rich lives with going to Harvard and everything. What the hell? I mean, you see how self-involved people are talking about there's COVID-19. Black people are dying. They're talking about they want to go out and groom their dog. That person doesn't really hate black people. They just couldn't care less. They're so involved.
They'll care when they see a bunch of black people in the same dog park as them.
Yes, Rhodes.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm
Yes.
just talking about the overall, I'm not going to knock
reading
that.
your
I
comment.
can agree with that. I'm just going to say that overall, my impression is that they just don't even give a damn. That's worse. I'd rather you even care and just hate me than don't even care. That means I've got to show you there's even an issue. They don't even know there's an issue. What do you mean? There's problems in America? I don't understand. That's the way that's the way I look at it anyway. But we can
The rabbit hole I'm not ready to go down today.
exactly, right? Right. Okay. So I just wanted to quickly, this is the question and answer portion. And Pierre, please, if you have any questions, please ask. But I wanted to start it off by just talking about the contact tracing. It's very important, as this is the best tool we have to fight the COVID-19 in our communities. And unfortunately, you see, what I've seen is that the government is going to try their best to help us, but that's not, this is called contact tracing, meaning that they have to be your contacts. So it's probably going to be better if we are the ones contacting our people, and then that's the way people will pick up the phone. Remember I talked about earlier how the government is saying that they're having a hard time contact tracing because Black people are not picking up their phones. They're not recognizing the caller ID. They're like, oh, I don't want to talk to COVID-19 people. Some people just want to live in ignorance. You know, so we have to find a way to contact trace within our communities, because it's us. When I call with Haitian, if I call a Haitian, I'm speaking Haitian, or they pick up the phone, they're going to be like, oh, this is my brother. And they're going to be more likely to contact trace. There's another thing that they're not doing. They're not agreeing to isolating and quarantining because they have to go to work. So you get contact, we say, hey, Devan, last week we had a call from somebody who's tested positive from contact tracing, from COVID-19, and it say that you were one of their contacts that they had, right? Okay, we need you to isolate, stay at home, or quarantine, stay at home, so that, for 14 days. And you say, you know what? Okay, but I'm not really gonna do it because I gotta go to work. I got children to feed.
Right.
So these are the two things that I wanted to bring. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think that if we can do this, we can save a lot of lives.
Yes,
So,
I think that people should definitely have a contact tracing notebook with you. When you come in contact with people, have them sign in. I need your name and your phone number just in case, please. COVID-19, hard times. We need to be able to document the information better, and put sea moss gel in your diet. I'm not sure if you said that earlier, but put sea moss gel in your diet. Sea moss gel is great. It's great for the bones. It's great for strengthening you, but it's also really great for getting them free radical, crazy virus cells out of the body.
really?
Amazing.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And Pierre, do you have any questions?
None at this time, but thank you.
All right, no problem. Well, thank you so much. Okay, so
Marlon, Rhodes helps people get life insurance. Do you know Rhodes already? Okay.
Yes,
awesome.
yes, I do. He's actually been a very good patron to what we're doing, so we thank him always for checking us out. Okay, so quickly, the reason why we're doing Afro-American Culture Initiatives having the Village Square is because we are raising money for frontline medical staff in low-income multicultural communities. These are the people who are going to be fighting the pandemic, especially when the oncoming second wave that promises apparently to be bigger and more deadly than even the first wave, right? So these frontline medical staff are the only thing between us and total mayhem. So what we're trying to do, we're going to provide opportunities for rest and restoration in hotel stays, Uber rides, Uber Eats, and a care packet. I don't know if
that is awesome.
Look at our care packet. If you see this, this is our
so great.
Our bag, our tote
I
bag.
like it. It's so cute.
And then we have our mug.
Ooh,
nice.
Fancy.
I know, right? We have a pen and our little postcard where they sign up for the they sign up for all the different things that this same program. So I bought masks. Masks are coming, and sanitizer is very difficult to find. I've ordered some with our logo on it, but it's gonna come in July. So we're just gonna have to find people to support us in the sanitizer. But the idea is that we wanna send you to a hotel. to rest and recuperate. I can't imagine, the reason why I said this program is what I wanted us to back with, because I can't imagine dealing with 3 or 4 people dying that day during my shift and then going home and having to act normal. I mean, you know, worry about macaroni and cheese and the kids doing their homework and your husband wants some. I don't want none of that. You know, I want to just zone out, sit in the shower, listen to some Sade, and let the water just run down my just,
yes.
You know, so we're trying to provide these for people. So like I said, these are some of the updates. We have the merch, as I showed you, that is arrived this week. We've also been able to get lined up with Uber and Uber Eats. So you'll just get an email from us, you know, and you'll be ready to go with your Uber rides to the hotel and your Uber and your food. And this Uber Eats will be primarily restaurants. I'm going to try to work with restaurants primarily in communities of color, so we can support these businesses. Not saying that, I mean, if somebody wants want to eat from a restaurant somewhere in, I don't know, Cambridge, it's fine. But we're going to really try to promote you to, you know, eat from one of these restaurants here in Hyde Park, Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, you know, communities, diverse communities. Then the second thing we're doing, which is also to raise money for the first line workers, we have a resource hub, www.afrimerican1.org. Please check it out. We've got governmental, national, international contacts, so many different programs. Then we have community resources. Devan, please, if you can go to the community resource page, there's a form to fill out, and you can put in all your information in, and within a couple of days, I'll have it on the resource page, so people will know that they can visit you for whatever they need. And then awesome. We have an accommodation info and resource page, and also that's where you can apply for the assistance program. So I want to thank everybody for attending the Village Square. Once you register, you're registered for life. You'll get people telling you, you know, you'll get reminders of when we have our next one. Our next one is next Wednesday. It's called The Culture Gap. We're going to be talking about, we're going to have Where Do We Begin podcast. They're a great husband and wife duo, and they have a podcast, and they're going to, they always give it to you raw. So they're going to be here talking about the culture gap, which is, I guess, me trying to describe the differences in culture, in community cultural systems and leadership. That gap is why we can't amount the kind of response we would all like to see, is because we literally have not been untaught how to govern ourselves and how to react. So that's the topic for next week. Basically, you know, at this point, we normally shoot the breeze, and everybody's welcome to shoot the breeze with us, you know, and just kind of discuss a lot of the issues. But yeah, thank you very much. Britt, are you there?
She's here.
I know, but she has been.
She's sitting so still. I know.
Oh, really?
Yes, you are.
I've just been.
You sitting so still. We don't know if you froze or not.
Exactly.
Really? I feel like you guys could see my mouth moving.
No,
You're talking?
No, I was like, my throat was itching, so
Oh no, we couldn't tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just say one quick thing before we end? Whatever. I just wanted to remind everybody to please take care of your mental health. It's really normal to feel like you're okay going through this, and then next thing you know, you have a mental breakdown. So please continue to check in on yourself, and if you have to go around and be around other people, or if you need to pick up the phone and call somebody, please make sure you're doing so and looking for support groups and stuff, because the last thing we need is a bunch of crazy people running around the street.
Right. No, I think that health is going to be a major part of this program. I've been developing content around recipes. Think of how valuable recipe is. Now you say, what do you mean by what do you mean? Now, first of all, recipe keeps all the nutrients tied to a culture, right? your veggies, all the recipes. He said, but okay, so what? You want to think, let me describe some recipes that made millions of dollars. Heinz ketchup recipe, Coca-Cola recipe. So these are valuable things that are handed down from generation to generation that control how we eat. Mm-hmm. So if you now remove these recipes, I've always asked my African sisters, I said, okay, so if you can't cook egusi soup, you can't cook ogbono, you can't cook pepper soup, then what would you cook? They'll be like, okay, we won't have anything to cook. Okay, so then if you don't have anything to cook, then I could suggest this burger to you and you'll be fine with it, right? Exactly. And that is why we're unhealthy, is because our indigenous, natural, traditional eating has been taken away. So therefore, we're now left with survival food, which I made some nice cabbage and ham hocks with smoked yesterday. I did do that and it was beautiful, but that is still food that is left over from our slavery days. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Then there's the climate. This cold weather does not agree with us, people of color, and causes a lot of psychological issues when we don't get our vitamin D. So please try to get some sun, try to go for walks, try to eat properly, and we'll see you as soon as we can see. Anybody else want to talk? We can just we can let it roll, because we got about maybe we're about an hour right now. So well, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that was great what you had closed out with. Absolutely. I know that I am a tropical baby and living here in Massachusetts pretty much my entire life, and I've never been comfortable. Never been comfortable with the weather. So it should be 70 at least consistently right now, and it's not. And I don't know if Mother Nature is playing with us or if the powers that be are playing with us. However, we do need to go out and get our melanin, get your endorphins, get your heart rate up, get some deep breaths and air through your lungs. That way you can encourage good circulation and good mental stability.
You know, I'm actually worried about the summer and the heat, because summer plus heat plus no air conditioning means the vulnerable population of elderly, might see increased deaths with the social distancing and other things. So this is a part of the resiliency. So now, instead of waiting, trust me, the government has got a lot to deal with. And I'm not trying to say that they're doing it on purpose or not, but I'm just going to say that they might miss that fact. So are we going to start a GoFundMe to raise money to buy air conditioners or to help people of color pay their electricity bills when they're running their air conditioning throughout the summer, so that their grandma, so mama can be comfortable while she's social distancing from the COVID-19 that's trying to kill her anyway. So that's kind of what I mean by resiliency. We don't need to be sitting back waiting for anybody. We just need to start actively identifying our problems and coming up with solutions. Engaging conversation has been very good for Black people, but it's also, to me, one of the biggest crippling ideas. We're always engaging in conversation, not engaging in problem solving and actually solving the problem. So that's how I'm going to start this one. And I thank everybody, honestly, Rhodes, Devan, Britt. We really appreciate this effort, and we know it's a grassroots startup effort. So I can imagine this program getting bigger and better. And if it does, it will be because of the contributions of leaders, strong Black people like yourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for doing this panel, you guys.
Well, we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right.
What, on Saturday, you still doing the other thing on?
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes. On Saturday, I do a culture thing. In fact, Devan, we have to have a discussion. Maybe she could be my co-host, but I don't want to throw that out.
Well, what time? What time?
It's at 7 in the evening.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could bounce things off of each other, because I'm recording my podcasting on Saturdays now at 4 p.m.
Okay.
So maybe we can kind of figure that out. Okay.
I'm working on that. I'm actually also working with somebody in Nigeria, because I would like to do a global women's town hall where we're discussing women, and you will be talking directly. Remember that, and it was actually our first conversation,
Yes.
It was our
Yes.
first conversation that gave me the idea. Because remember, you talked to a lady from Zambia, you talked to a lady from Somalia, and I was talking from the Nigerian perspective, and you were talking from the African American perspective. So I said, wouldn't it be great if we could find the way to incorporate all, women talking about women issues from all over the world. So you get to hear why they take it very seriously that they're cooking and not looking at, oh, cooking is a matter of slavery, from the men. You get what I'm saying? I always tell people, I am actually teaching my son how to cook to protect him from women who are going to use that food to capture his heart.
Yes.
No, I'm serious.
That is so true.
I can cook. So if any woman tries to use food against me, I said, I beg. In fact, you need to taste my barbecue before you get started, because you'll be the one coming over to my house. Trust me. So cooking in African culture is a sense of cultural pride. Women are now the cultural ambassadors because there is nothing better than eating some good traditional food. So it's like a sense of honor, and they're protecting this information from the men so they can have power over the men. Then you come here to America where you see white feminism take over the Black mind and tell these women that, oh, you're not supposed to do this because that means you're in control. Let me tell you who's in control in the house. The person who puts the food on the table, because everybody gets hungry 3 times a day. And you bring your family together, you bring your whole community together under this guise of family, and you teach your kids how to cook. I can cook because my mom taught me how to cook. It's not about man or woman. Men need to go in the kitchen and help their wives cook.
Taught you how to cook. I guess we never forced him to be like, yo, show us how to cook.
No, it's not forced. You just.
It's not about force. The recipes are gone. So there's nothing, all the cultural knowledge that has been collected in Africa for thousands of years.
Another thing too,
it's not there. So you don't have to teach. You don't have anything to teach. Cool.
I was like, can you just do it without talking?
I really love that. I really love when we get to that area of talking about food, especially being a farmer and growing herbs and things that help us clean out our system. So I love talking about those.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that we should work on the global thing. The only thing about the global thing is that it lasts from 3. You can't really have it within an hour because of the time difference, about 5 hours difference, so you kind of have to have it like between 4 and 7, where there's a big gap between people in Africa and Nigeria, where you can try to, I don't know. We have to think about it, but that's the idea.
So we should wrap it up.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. I think
sorry, man. Marlon, we got to stop talking so much.
And family conversation.
I'll call you.
For the next one. Thank you all the viewers for tuning in. Thank you again, Marlon, for having me. Thank you, Devan, for popping on.
Thank you, Pierre.
About being an entrepreneur. And thank you to our attendee, Rose Pierre.
Thank you for doing this. I'll talk to you guys later.